Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Benjamin Bressington, the CEO of Automated Tax Credits. Benjamin's company specializes in helping self-employed individuals, 1099 workers, gig workers, and independent contractors access tax credits of up to $32,000 if they were impacted by COVID-19. With a unique background that blends law, criminology, and over a decade of experience in gamification, human behavior strategies, and AI automation, Benjamin offers a fresh perspective on navigating the complex world of tax credits. He's also the author of People Ignorant: Unlocking Success, Confidence, and Influence, and has been featured on over 100 podcast, radio, and TV interviews. Today, Benjamin will share his insights on uncovering hidden tax credits, the impact of AI automation on tax prep, and how to maximize your savings. Let's dive in. Let's get inappropriate. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. I'm Paul Angelle, your host, and I'm very excited to have Mr. Benjamin Bressington. Am I saying that correctly?
You are, yeah.
All right. Well, Benjamin Bressington, so I don't have to do it, and I don't run the risk of messing up. Could you tell our audience where you are and how you got there, and what do you do?
So I am right now sitting beside a lake inside at Beaver Lake in Arkansas. So I've been hanging out here. I'm actually had the joys of camping for the week, and I'm doing this wonderful podcast. And right now I'm the CEO of Automated Tax Credits. So what we do is we help independent contractors or 1099 workers apply for the COVID relief tax credit for self-employed. So I help them get up to $32,000. And one of the big things we've done over the last 12 months is automate that process. So I've taken something that accountants were spending 2 hours on to now doing it in 66 seconds or less. And I've built all these workflows to make our team more efficient. And this is now how we do thousands of these applications every single day, help people qualify for these grants and getting this cash back from the IRS, which most of the time their accountant doesn't even know they qualify, or they don't even know how to submit this type of stuff. So we've worked it out. And now we're actually seeing that a lot of the people we deal with as business owners, independent contractors, want help with other issues, other items in their business. Or they're like, hey, you literally did what you said you were going to do. You analyzed my tax returns to see if I could get this credit. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So it's wonderful to see how delivering value up front and delivering on your word builds that trust and rapport with people really quickly. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. In fact, it probably puts people off, and it's shocking because it's that authenticity and that delivering what you promised is a little more uncommon than it should be.
It really, really is. And and I have a lot of people like, oh, I like, and because we charge a document processing fee. So because a lot of our competitors are like, they want to take 20 or 50% of the tax credit. And we're like, why do we want to do that when it's your money, right? You're entitled to it. Like, why are you giving it up to people just because you don't want to pay a $99 processing fee? Like, why? Like it's just like, and people would rather pay $1,000 for something instead of paying $99, and that never really makes sense to me. I'm like, hey, I'm actually trying to put more money in your pocket. Like, it's like, why do you want me to take it away from you?
Because we're people and we're funny. I mean, I years ago I worked for Verizon Wireless, and I worked in government accounts, and back then a good rate was $99 a month for unlimited talk and text. Unlimited, no limits whatsoever. And this was well over 15 years ago. But that was a good rate. However, we had all of the itemizations and the billing and the reporting. And I would go and I did these large government accounts. And we're talking thousands of cell phones, right, that they're managing. And I did an analysis and realized that if they went across the board and got the $20 plan with a certain amount of minutes that came on the $20 plan, and then they would pay per minute everything over like 800 minutes or something. Yep. I found that 95% of their phones typically would have not used any of the overage minutes. which would have resulted in almost a 75% reduction in their overall bill. And you're talking about several thousands of dollars every month.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to run the risk of overages. It's like, okay, well, you have about a dozen or so really high users that you could put
Yeah.
on unlimited, and the other 892 phones we could put on the $20 plan. No, no, we we budgeted for it. I got it approved. We're sticking with that.
Exactly.
And it's kind. I guess in your case, $99 up front or $1,000 on the back end. Well,
Yeah.
when you're broke, you're stuck with the $1,000 on the back end. But
Yeah.
it ends up being a huge difference. I'm familiar with that. I worked with law firms that process a lot of the ERTC credits. Same
Yep.
thing, kind of COVID relief that a lot of CPAs were incorrect in the advice they given, but law firms and CPAs are different. CPAs are by nature pretty risk averse, and
Oh,
law
yeah.
firms are kind of risky.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I found, that even with this process, there was 6 months of research where I was paying accountants, advisors, tax professionals, you name it. Like, if you were a specialist in this space, I'd ask you, like, how do you calculate this credit? Every single one of them gave me a different answer. I'd ask them, how do you fill in these documents? What should be filled in? What should not be filled in? Like, what documents should be included? What documents shouldn't be included? Every single one of them had different opinions across the board. And if you showed them one document packet from somebody else, they're like, no, that's wrong because this is this. And one person was saying, no, you got to have every field in the forms filled in because that's how it's filed. And I'm like, yeah, but then you got these other people saying, no, it's an amendment. Only fill in one box on the form. And then people are like, I don't want to pay for this thing that's got only one field in it. I'm like, yeah, but it's filled in correctly. Like, it's an amendment to we're only amending literally one field in this section, but there's 5 other documents that are fully filled in. So it's just like, it's like, what do you want to do? So at some of the process, it's kind of like, okay, you've got to choose a process that you're willing to defend. And I found also, which was quite fascinating when you're building a business, a lot of people are so focused what the competitors are doing, they don't have a defendable position. And that's really one of the things I've learned with this process is, like, we created a process that we can defend, we can validate, and it's not such an extreme position that the IRS or whoever is going to go, that's wrong because of this. And some of the people we were working with, they wanted to be way over here and they wanted to be pushing everything to the edge and, like, so extreme that, like, if at any point in time it was questioned, it's like they're sitting on a house of cards. And I see so many businesses do that, or they're doing their pricing strategy as another example, right? Just, oh, this is what Sally down the road does, right? Or the competitors are that, so we'll be cheaper. That, why? Like, why? Honestly, why? That doesn't make sense. Like, does that also mean that you're going to lose money the exact same way they're losing money? It gets quite interesting. But as a business coach, I'm sure you see that all the time.
I'm always looking for efficiencies. I'm either looking for ways to increase revenue or decrease expenses or better utilize whatever we've already paid for. A lot of businesses do crazy things, but part of the problem is if you call 2 different people at the IRS, can you get someone on the phone and you ask them the exact same question, it's not likely you're going to get the same answer. So they may be going off advice they got from the source and it's not right.
Yeah, 100%. And, like, we even know that because we sit on hold with the IRS for an hour, 2 hours at a time just to get through, just to get our questions answered. And one of the things we do, which is kind of new, is we actually provided our clients with a audit guarantee. So the thing is if you get audited, which will probably happen somewhere in the next 5 to 7 years, that's when you'll have questions and you'll want to be able to prepare. And, like, here's the packet that we're giving to support you. But I've been in the automation efficiency business for the last 10 years, building automations. And it's only because of the automations we built now that are going to allow us to, we've got a target of hitting $1 billion in tax credits before April next year. in actually getting $1 billion in tax credits back to small business people. And that's what we're working towards. Because it's amazing the difference like this money can make for a lot of people.
Is this the family leave and
Yep.
childcare? That's what it is.
Yep.
Okay. I've been hearing about this.
Yes.
Yeah, April 18th, I think, is the is D-Day. It's it. So it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
you've
No,
got to
100%. So,
and you can't still get 2020. I think you can only get 2021 now.
oh, well, it's bundled into 21. So the thing is you can still get the benefits from 2020, but the thing is a lot of people had 2 years. So 2020 or 21. Now it's based on 21. We can use your income for 20 if it was actually greater, which is quite interesting. So we've got all these optimizations that we've actually built in to make sure we also optimize it for people. But that's the thing. A lot of people go to their accountant. And I've had hundreds of accountants yell at me because it's like, you can't be getting this. My people don't qualify for it. I'm like, yes, they do. Here is their tax return. Here is the math. This is why they qualify for it. And they'll try and tell the people, no, that's not right, blah, 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 blah. And funny enough, what you'll kind of usually see is you'll see them apply for it and then bill the client indirectly on, okay, so here's the modifications we had to do to your thing. And all of a sudden in 3 months, the client gets a refund check and they think, oh, yeah, my accountant got it for me. Like, it's like, all right, well, like we're happy to make people be heroes and rock stars, but you know what? It's and one of the things is that the IRS is scary. Like we have a lot of people, even if you owe money to the IRS, you can get this, and that's one of the things that's fascinating. Like even if you owe money, this can actually be helping to alleviate your debt. If you've got a payment plan in place, it won't actually get applied to your debt. You'll actually get it back in cash because you have a payment plan in place. So like the IRS isn't an organization that wants to destroy you. Like there is systems, but it's such a monster that sometimes it's hard to understand how to play the game in this with this beast. And one of the things is sitting on hold. And that's why we built processes and systems. And I know you mentioned ERTC. There was a massive amount of fraud with ERTC. And people were uploading documents that were completely fraudulent. That's one of the reasons why in our process, like we built this process that we only get transcripts from the IRS. And so we built a system that literally allows us to pull your transcript within 3 to 15 days from the IRS and we can verify it. So, but when and business owners might be going, well, hey, I don't qualify for this. I'm like, yeah, but if you employ independent contractors, you employ 1099 workers, you employ gig workers, right? They could qualify for it. They could benefit from it. So you could be helping the people who need it most just by going, hey, have you heard of this thing? And like, have you fully applied for it? Does that make sense?
It's a lot from
Yeah.
what I've seen. I mean,
And what's really exciting is we've got a vision to be able to help people apply for other credits, other grants or subsidies, because like yeah, like because like most people don't realize there's actually over 2,000 different grants that your business could be applicable for. And that like if you just knew how to fill in that paperwork, how you knew how to prepare that. And that's where like, hey, now with the power of AI, we're going to be able to get your information and go, hey, also we can apply you for this, and this, and therefore support your business. And that's our future goal and vision of what we're trying to do.
what about self-employed people whose businesses maybe didn't show a profit in 20 or 21?
Well, if it comes down to, well, here's the thing. It actually comes down to how your accountant ran the numbers on your tax returns for 20 and 21. So some people actually carried their losses or really organizes their losses so they don't pay much tax, right? And it's not necessarily about the amount of tax you paid, it's about the way you declared your income. And they're the variables we're working from. And because there's many different ways to minimize taxes or optimize taxes. So it comes down to what you qualify for and being able to qualify for something. Like we've seen people get back $300 and they're still like, that's awesome. That's great. Right. So the thing is if you don't have any income or you've got it declared in a way that it's written off and it's been minimized, you probably won't qualify. But there's also opportunities to get the family credit or because there's three parts to this credit, which is what makes it interesting. So yeah, the big money is obviously if you had a family that was impacted. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. Well, I first heard about this and I didn't believe it. I'm like, what the? This can't be legit, right? So then I spent a little while researching it. I did venture into this with some other people initially, and I've always been in the automation space. So I do have an AI automation background. And when we processed $50 million worth of credits in 3 months, and I built the systems that were analyzing 20,000 plus tax returns, we were doing 5,000 packets a day. All right, is what we were doing through our system. I really saw the potential. And when you talk about the ups and downs, that was a fun day when my business partners were meant to write me a check for a few $1 million, and they're like, yeah, we're actually going to remove you from the company now. I'm like, come again? And then after you take a hard look in the mirror and you cry into the pillow for a few days, you're like, you know what? I've actually created something and I know we can do better. I know I can improve the system. So that's when we relaunched and really committed to the bigger vision of what we're doing with automated tax credit. Because I'm like, I know I can improve the process. I know we can cross $1 billion in tax credits. And I know this is just the tip of the iceberg because there's so many other credits, so many grants, programs, medical things, insurance related things that we can help small business owners optimize that they don't have the time for. Because a lot of this stuff is just time consuming work.
My experience with government, especially when it's grants or rebates and things like this, they the politicians like to say how much money they provided or set aside for a certain thing, but they don't necessarily want to advertise it. They don't. They're fine with putting $50 billion into a program and only $5 million gets awarded.
Well, that's the thing they don't tell you, right? That's like, yeah, you got $50 billion sitting there or $5 million sitting there that's available, right? But they're like, yeah, well, only $200,000 of it's been spent because the process is tedious and clunky and paperwork, this, that, and everything else, right? Like it's just like, yeah, I want to apply for that, but yeah, so you got to submit 100 pages of documentation and then evidence and this, that. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but also as the business owner, when do you get the time to actually do all this type of stuff? That's also one of the pain points or the choke points. So there's some massive opportunities for helping business owners. And let's be honest, like some of these grants, if a business owner was given 50, 100, or $200,000, that could help a business survive.
I'm curious about. I mean, AI automation makes sense, but how does your background in law and criminology influence your approach to tax processing?
Yeah, well, I focus all this on the human behavior side of things. So we're always making this optimized for different human behaviors, like we're profiling individuals, right? We've done a lot of optimization just to even cater for Spanish markets or different languages. So our entire platform is optimized for different languages. And we've even got our advertising that's optimized for different languages. So, like, personalizing it to people, personalizing the communication. Um, my criminology background just really is all about profiling audience segments. And that's one of the things we've been applying to this. I got a background in gamification as well because I published a book on game mechanics and how to make things fun and sticky. So even in that process, like how do I make this as the least amount of pain as possible for you and then but make it efficient all at the same time? And that's how, like, we built our own effectively an API to the IRS. So now we can get your information. We can analyze your information. Like I see people coming through all the time. They owe the IRS $50 to $500,000 or more. So we're like, well, hey, we notice you've got this issue. You also want some help with this. Like, can we support you in this other problem? You've already given us your information. Like, let's not just be blindsided on one small problem when this is actually usually a bigger problem for people.
What's been one of the most significant successes or milestones for automated tax credits so far?
It would be the milestones of the traffic volumes, and that we've been able to really start to exceed our capacity. One of the big opportunities we've seen recently is we've had a lot of accountants and people come to us and go, hey, like they buy leads, for example, like they're running Facebook ads and getting leads, which is, if you know anything about Facebook advertising, a Facebook lead format is kind of pretty crappy, let's be honest, because it's the email address you used back in college or when you first signed up to Facebook. Can you remember what that email was? right? There's a lot of interesting emails they get. And then for these people, they end up chasing leads. They end up chasing these people, bad emails, bad phone numbers. You don't even remember what you submitted to, right? So we've built a process where we don't just get a lead, we get verified contact information. And then within 7 minutes, typically, we get full authorization to pull your tax information and an identity verification. We get your driver's license, your social security number, right? So a lot of these accounting companies were like, how the hell are you doing that? Like, I'm paying 10 times more for a crappy lead that I've got to chase that like I waste hours on. So seeing that there was actually bigger opportunities there for us to be lead generation, strategic partnerships, business development side of things has been a huge breakthrough for us.
I know that there's this impending date of doom of April 18th, right? That's when everybody I know that's working in this space or that's hoping to have success in this space is they know they've got seven months, right, to get this particular thing. It's really underused. I think there's tens of millions of people who qualify for it who just don't even know about it. But that ends. And you mentioned this is the tip of the iceberg, but what are your plans for the future of ATC, and how do you see the company evolving beyond that sunset and in the next few years?
So the thing is there's always another tax credit. There's always another grant program. There's always another subsidy. So the thing is we are already analyzing several opportunities right now to assist business. We're seeing that there's a massive opportunity in lead brokering or lead marketing for services for a lot of companies because our technology we've created is quite impressive in how it can help automate and validate your lead acquisition process. So we're seeing there's big opportunity in those services. But at the end of the day, a lot of government services, a lot of tax services are clunky and inefficient. So we know that there is a huge opportunity. Yeah, our $1 billion animal kind of gets back in the cage. However, there's always a $1 billion animal that's there. And talking to our clients and our partners we're setting up right now, the strategic opportunities for additional $1 billion opportunities is massive because we're having our clients bring us problems. Hey, I've got a huge problem with this. I've got a huge issue with this. How could you help us solve that? So where will we be? I'm not 100% too sure, but I still know that I'll be running my company from anywhere around the world because that's how it's been designed. And one of the things comes into the design of your business, and this would be my tip for anyone, is if you're building a business, design it around how you want to live your life and enjoy your life. I get to travel around the country, I get to travel around the world, and I get to run my operation from anywhere. I'm running it from beside a lake today, right? Lifestyle balance is really, really important. Lifestyle balance doesn't mean not working, but it means being really, really efficiently. Like my team and my systems now work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I can process one file a day, or I can process 1,000,000 files a day. Same systems, same bandwidth, same like you actually have more problems generating one file than you do processing 1,000 files. And this is where I think a lot of people need to be aware of. One of the big opportunities we're seeing is teaching people to focus on their business development or lead development as rather than just trying to chase 10 good appointments this month. Let's build an ocean or an audience of 1,000 clients that you can harvest from and continue to harvest from over the next few weeks or the next month or next year, if that makes sense. So we're seeing some really big opportunities through how other people can leverage the systems we've built because they don't have the AI expertise. They don't have the team. They don't have the developers. They don't have the resources that we've had to put into this project.
How much are you actually leveraging AI automation in creating, I guess, groups of consumers that you can continually provide relief to?
Oh, massively. Like we use AI to augment our customer segments, our audiences, from our advertising all the way through. We use AI to generate translations. We've even got technology that we developed that'll actually create personalized videos. So people will actually get a personalized video from their tax professional which is actually citing their name and the details from the grants they qualify for or the tax credit they're getting back. And it becomes their personalized. So they actually think they're doing that, but we can then send out 1,000 personalized videos a minute that are highly personalized, right? Not just with your logo on a backdrop or something like that. I'm talking about saying your name, saying your company name, saying your earnings, verifying your information. We actually have all of that in the process. So those technologies become powerful, and that's all AI driven, right? So it takes your data, and it's just like me having a consultation call with you. I say, why do I have to have that consultation call? Why can't we use AI right now to have that conversation call? We're about to do a whole lot more with AI voice, which is going to be really, really interesting. People, it doesn't need to be video only. Like audio is more powerful than you think it is. People still listen to audio, and the ability to distribute that is very, very powerful. So I think that's something that people need to really start considering, that you don't have to do everything anymore. Set up the systems that you can leverage. And I always say to people, the momentum is more important than the accuracy, because as we're moving, we can fix it. We're going to get better and better. And the worst it's going to be is whatever we did yesterday, right? We can fix it. If you think it's got to be, I see a lot of people getting stuck on this type of stuff because it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect today. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's like you'll learn more by being inefficient and not perfect than getting it right the very first time, because the chances of getting it right are slim to none.
You mentioned work-life balance and building a business around that. Outside of that, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs looking to navigate this world of either tax credits or incentives?
Uh, the hustle is real. There's this thing that you got to be out there and hustling, right? It's more than that. It's like a lot of these people who are hustling aren't focused. They're all over the place. Like I say, I'm hustling to people, but I'm 100% focused on what I am doing and also what I'm not doing. I get presented with opportunities all day long. Come do this, come do that, come do this, right? And it's about what I'm saying no to, because it's also robbing me of my bigger $1 billion vision, right? So the thing is anyone who's out there, it's going to be the path is bloody hard, right? And it's gonna take some blood, sweat, and tears. But learn to know can be very powerful, right? So and just play your own game. Don't play somebody else's would be the other rule I'm saying. Like it's just because everyone else is doing it some way doesn't mean they're right. For example, I know a lot of our competitors in this space take all their fees on the back end, for example. But I also know from their company that they can hype big numbers, but their collection rates are very, very low. Because as soon as people get credits, what do they do with it? They're instantly at to Best Buy or buying a car, or they're doing something and the money's gone. So now they're chasing money from people that don't have the money to begin with. So you would have been better off to get a small amount of money on the upfront, right? So it's like, you got to really think through, because as I say to my team, one problem every single day, just focus on it and solve it, and then we'll deal with tomorrow's problem tomorrow, because it's there's always going to be that new problem, if that makes sense.
Self-employed individuals, small business owners. I mean, that's your target with this particular focus. How can they ensure they are maximizing this tax savings, and how can they be sure they're taking advantage of all the available credits or all the available benefits that are available?
Yeah, well, that's why automatedtaxcredits.com was created, right? All they got to do is literally go to automatedtaxcredits.com. They can do the estimator that's there. It's free. It's a real estimator. It's not made up. It's not like the phony, fudgy numbers that a lot of people use. That's the same calculations we use as part of our calculator. You can validate, hey, this is what I'd be getting. And it's using tools like this, because we speak to hundreds of accountants and bookkeepers every day. They don't know. They only know how to do the use QuickBooks or Quicken or whatever it is they're using, Intuit, whatever it is, right? The problem with the IRS programs is they're so big, so diverse. So you've got to be dealing with specialists for certain things. Like even tax debt minimization. right? Like if you owe the IRS money, you can avoid it for 10 years, but at some point you're going to have to deal with it, right? So this is where you need to leverage professionals, because a professional could help you turn a $50,000 tax debt into a $1,500 tax debt. Is it worth them getting a fee? Damn straight it is, right? And if you think it's not, then you're kidding yourself, right? And I'm sure there's someone who will work for free for you out there, right? So it's the same thing. We see it in every industry.
Outside of automated tax credits, let's say somebody watching this podcast or listening to it wants to get in touch with you. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so it's real simple. Just reach out to help@automatedtaxcredits.com. Tell them you want to talk to Ben, or tell them you want to talk to anyone in our team, and you'll get instant access to our entire team to be able to have a conversation about your goals, your desires, what you're trying to achieve. Or if you want to tell me how stupid I am, by all means, go for it.
Well, this has been pretty awesome. I'm glad that you reached out. I'm glad your people reached out to my people. But I learned some stuff today. And I think this particular episode has potential to put some money in the pockets of our listeners and our viewers. And that makes me smile. That's a good thing. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time and spending and letting our listeners learn a little bit about this stuff. I just want to share with you and share with my listeners. If you want to grow something, chances are you're going to have to do something inappropriate.